All right, welcome everybody. It is the week 11 review for WPL. So thanks everybody for being here. Let's just go ahead and use our check-in process and see how everybody's feeling today. Make sure you're showing up ready to go. And if not, let the rest of us know. I'm going to have to be a 5. I'm buckled up and ready to go. I like that we have 2 8s because that's the cutest one. All right. Hopefully everybody's ready for this. 2 quick shout outs this week. Marty, apparently you were able to maintain your composure pretty well this weekend under some tough circumstances. So thanks for being the bigger person there. And I was just thinking about stuff coming up, and I wanted to say thanks to Rosalind Anderson for doing the hard work of putting those RDG camps together, because I know they're going to be awesome. And thanks for
I have a shout out for Tim for his hospitality. He hosted for backyard pizzas and let me take a shower before the red eye.
Oh man, was that this week? I forgot. You told me that and I just dropped it. I remember it and I thought it was last week. Then we already talked about it. So
what is time?
Yeah, what is time? Exactly. I'm sorry, Tim. That's totally my fault.
That's all right. It was fun to connect and hang out with Jenny and Hannah.
Awesome. So here's the results from the week. Big score lines, lots of tries. That makes good rugby, but we'd like to see closer score lines, I think, for the league's longevity. So 0-49, Beantown over the Zons, 31-7, Colorado over Life West, and then 49-7, All Blues over North Shore. Makes the standings look like this. So the All Blues pull ahead to 43. Tim and I were talking, and we think that makes them first place, right? No one can reach them.
Well, that was per the conversation with Jenny and Hannah. It sounds like points wise, Life West cannot overcome New York.
Oh, gotcha. So the top 4 are going to be the top 4, but we don't necessarily know the seeds. That's the right message. Okay. Thank you for correcting me. So that's exciting. Let's go to advantage. Tim asked to go first. I'm going to turn off my camera so that in case of some issues, we had the hurricanes here. So if for some reason I disappear, someone else can maybe run the meeting so we can get through it. I don't know exactly what could happen with my internet. Right now it seems fine. So nope. All right, Tim, this is you.
Thank you. So yeah, a good game this weekend. It was kind of a battle for that 4th place into the top, and going into it, I was just a little worried. I haven't refed for a couple weeks, been doing some 7s, so just that whole transition. And then as well as both teams, I think Colorado was the most penalized team in the first half, and Life very close to that. So just going in with that mindset, setting an early standard, thinking about those things, being cognizant about it. The game was pretty good. I think we'll go into it more. I'll let Bob do a recap, but I think the biggest thing in the game was I wasn't able to kind of adjudicate the game and get a yellow card in the right time. I was a little bit late on it, but we can talk about that more, and I'll let Bob go.
No, that's everything that Tim just said. I thought it was a nice game, everything else, but you can see that the ruck penalties surpassed tackle. So we try to figure out what was that doing. And we had an issue with just repeated infringements by Life West, and for Tim to just a little bit of an earlier recognition of those patterns, and then how he can escalate to take so whistle doesn't work or voice doesn't work, then whistle doesn't work, what do we do next, and how do you escalate? But overall I thought it was a nice game, and overall
and that's like a theme that I think I need to work on, is just when you recognize there's 3 or 4 penalties in a row I try to kind of manage through it where, maybe I need to use less of my voice and less of my whistle and use a card. And then sometimes I get in the situation where I'm like, oh, I should have carded on that one. And then you wait and then it's like a big span or it's halftime and it gets a little awkward. Like, do I card right after halftime or now there's 10 minutes of no, penalties. And then I'm like, in my head, okay, it's the next one. But luckily in this game, I was able to get a high tackle kind of pretty close to it. So, yeah. So clip number one, I think they're a little out of order, but I wanted to maybe we could just play the clip and then see what people thought they would do. Bob and we're on the same page, but I know other people that the ARs and other people said differently. So maybe waterfall or whatever you think Amanda's best. If you guys want to replay it, you can see the 10 here. Attempts to gather the ball, but doesn't. I recognized in the moment she wasn't in a real viable point to catch the ball, but this is also a minute into the game. So want to hear what they would do here.
Okay, should we just waterfall? On the count of 3, PO for play on, PK if you're going to penalize that as an intentional knock. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. So Tim, you played on the day and you feel like you're going to play on still now. Okay. Anybody want to say why they think what they think?
I was going towards penalty just because she was in an unrealistic position to catch it. And I mean, she made an attempt, but it almost looks like it's just swatting down from that angle. And I would want to discourage that from happening more in the game to see if it's early.
Okay, Peter and Bob, it looked like you two were for play on.
Yeah, I didn't see that as much as a swat down as just to try and stop the pass from going across and hopefully leave it laying there where it was catchable.
This is a
So I'm
difficult
okay with a
one.
knock there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult because of where she is when the pass is made.
She's in front of the ball, right? So it's yeah.
But yeah.
But I like how Tim did it too. So Tim called the knock, but then he also reminded, please make sure you're in a position to gather, right? So it's kind of, I think he covered his bases here, and I thought it was a good decision.
If that ball is 2 inches closer to the heel of her palm, she just stops it in midair and then it drops down and she catches it.
So now you're playing Ips, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. I agree with you, but
No, I'm playing what she's trying to do.
Yeah, but okay, how about this? Say it was the last pass to score a try. You PK?
Oh,
No.
That's very different, right? I mean, in my mind too, there's no breakaway. It's not like she's breaking up a try. This is kind of like loose play in my mind. But no, 100% if this is the last and she's between two players and it's a 2-on-1, I think it's a different. But in this case, middle of the field, kind of, and that played into my thought process.
This is Amelia. I don't think she has any chance of catching that. And if she wanted to make a really great tackle, she could just run straight back. And as soon as that player catches it, tackle her 5 or whatever, 10 meters back from where that pass is happening. And that would have been the smarter, better play. So she had an option to do something that wasn't disruptive and illegal. And that's why she deserves a penalty.
yeah, I think that's fair. The way she is outstretched, I'm happy with the penalty here.
And also too, I mean, if you give a penalty, you're also potentially giving points because I mean you're, let's say 20 meters in, right off the post. So anyways, just I thought it was a good conversation point. And it's so early in the game too. It's like it's like a minute in. So I'm like, but it's good to hear
Yeah.
people's thoughts and be,
No, it was a good discussion. I like that one.
Yeah, and unfortunately, World Rugby has made those harder for us with their most recent ruling. So
Agreed.
number 2,
Yeah, here's one. Again, it's just one of these things that happens in the game, and you're like, did I make the right decision here? This is like an offsides materiality call. And so I wanted to hear what people thought before I gave my thoughts on it. But this is one of those things that stuck in my head. I was like, should I call this? Should I have not called it? So just want to hear people's opinions here. You'll see.
okay, so what made you call it?
So what made me call it was if I played on through it, the ball's in the ground. It's kind of, you're it's not a good platform. The ball's all over the place. If this ball went to hand, I think I just play on through it. But you see the path goes to the ground. It's all over the place. They make a tackle here. So I was just like, not sure kind of what to do here. I ended up calling the penalty because, the ball's 5 meters back. Did this interrupt her play? I don't know. It was kind of in her field of vision. So.
Yeah, I had mentioned to him that you managed her back, right? So she made the step up. You said, get back. She got back. She had no material effect to that play, in my mind. Got back, play. That was just an errant pass by the scrum half. It wasn't caused by that person who stepped up and then made her way back. So that's my understanding.
And you do hear, if you listen to the audio, the 9 saying she's offside. So, this is one of those things, and this is the same 9 from the last game that, threw the ball into the player on the ground. So, that kind of plays a little into your mindset. But anyways, want to hear other people's thoughts.
Any referees want to respond? Are you calling that, or are you saying it's not material and making blue play through the bad pass?
Yeah, hey, it's Marty. I think if we stop it before that pass doesn't go to hands, we're okay with that scrum half making that pass. And obviously it's an unfortunate situation for the attack right here, but I don't think we could penalize because you already did get them to move back.
Yeah, I like that point of view. Anybody else?
How many times had you already penalized for offside here?
Not for Colorado. And then maybe it plays a little bit into this, but Life West had a lot of penalties against them, maybe 1 or 2 penalties for them. And they were at this point in the game, kind of getting beat and struggling. So it was an opportunity to give Life West some good platform and ball. It was like maybe 7-19 at this point. They had gotten maybe 2 penalties and they had given maybe 8. So plays a little bit into it, but
Yeah, that's interesting context.
Yeah, I like that context. I think then you can choose whatever you want and whatever you think adds balance to the game and, credibility. So
Yeah,
I think it doesn't have to be a penalty, but like in a normal situation, this wouldn't be a penalty, I don't think. But if you gave it, I would understand why.
Yeah, if we go to what does this game need, then it makes sense to give a penalty there. So, good one.
Yeah, especially as you're not giving points there.
yeah, there's no way. I mean, even in a men's game, you're 40. You're probably not giving up points here. Okay, so two more, but this third one, the Life West coach really questioned me and said, "Oh, we need to look at the video on this one, and this one's it's up."
Right at the top, Amanda.
Right, dead center now. So Life West coach really criticized me for this one, and I think, anyways, I'll let people play. I'll give my opinions after, but I think it's pretty obvious what happens on video. But it was just one of those things that I was like, all right, I got to go back and look at this, and I watched it, and I'm like, it's pretty obvious what happened. Here it is right now.
Oh, to the kids.
Are you all hearing the video, audio? Yeah.
No.
Sorry about that. I just realized I didn't optimize when I screen shared.
Saying all that, my audio and the call was wrong. The penalty was, I think, right, but I think the call was, well, I don't know. We'll let people see.
That ruck is formed already.
Let me slow it down here. So you went with hands?
I said hands, and I said ruck formed. I don't think that's the right call. I think you
Right.
get the thing in front of that, but I think the penalty is the right way in my mind, but happy to hear others.
Yeah, this is Jenny. I agree with the direction of the penalty because the the red rucker completely is taken out by the blue tackler. So happy with the direction of the penalty.
Yeah. I think that's the pretty clear right answer.
Yeah, and for me in that, I just I knew something was wrong, but I actually, I knew something was wrong because it was an easy, straightforward play, and then it went the other way. So, all right. So last one here.
Little lower, Amanda.
This
There you
is here's the situation. You have a really good 9, and there's a penalty, and the 9 is asking for the penalty. She said, "I want the penalty." Maybe here not she goes, "I want the penalty," because I know what she's going to do is quick tap and go in for a try. We're like 10 meters out. And so what I chose to do was not give her the penalty there. I chose to kind of play through it and let the ball move. And then I moved back for the penalty because I didn't want to give her like an easy try. But I know coaches might think differently or things, and the 9's asking for it, but I don't give it to her. So I wanted to hear people's thoughts, and this is the last one for me.
Yes! Help! Now, Carly! Now!
Offside. Penalty advantage to Colorado.
I'll take it first. Go with her! Go with her! Run, Laura!
Let it come! Let it come!
Come on, guys! Come on! Right here! She's on side! Way outside!
Mark is over here.
Come on, Carl!
So was the advantage clear and real?
Are you asking me or asking the group?
Yeah, I mean,
You have a
advantage.
bunch of these players right here. You can see them running back, clearly offsides and like in the way. I thought it was clear and real advantage for offsides.
Okay, so who wants to comment? Referees, if a player asks you for that they want the PK, are you gonna give it to them if advantage is there?
Was the player who was asking for the penalty the one who had possession of the ball?
It was the 9 asking for it.
Sorry, I can't see the numbers on this screen.
Yeah, I can't even tell the teams apart, so.
I feel like it's obviously tricky, but something that makes me lean towards not is I can't tell who is yelling that at me. I don't know if it's the captain or whatever. So I don't know if like the captain disagrees with them. If this is one player going rogue and then the rest of the team's going to be yelling at me and the coach is going to be yelling at me. And so just on like hearing it alone and not knowing in particular who it is yelling at me, I feel like I'm inclined to just keep doing whatever it was I was going to do. And it feels not very in the spirit of the game. Like we want open play in rugby. Like I don't love that.
And this is one of those classic examples of a game where you have the captain and then you have a 9 who's very vocal and is right on with her calls. And I actually had to say at some point, hey, you gotta not talk. You're what you're saying is great, but you're also taking credibility away from me because you're saying they're offsides and then I've blown offsides and it's like, so
Yeah.
yes, and it was the 9 who was very vocal the whole game, but not the captain.
I think there are situations where you can give the 9 the penalty if they want it, if they don't want advantage, but you can't make the mark quickly because what they might do is then just try to take a quick tap because they already have ball in hand and they know the defense isn't going to be back 10. So if you gave a penalty and gave her the mark right there, she would have scored a try off of it. And that would be a good way to take advantage of you. So in the middle of the field, I'm actually pretty happy to do what the 9 wants because I'm probably playing advantage in not a great space for them anyway. Here, she has an opportunity to score. I mean, the player makes like a 5-meter run right after that, and they're right near the goal line. So you played advantage as you should have there.
Solid answer. Thanks, Amelia.
Thanks, everybody.
Good job, Tim. Those are some interesting ones this week. Who wants to go next? Jenny?
Yep, happy to. Okay, went out to Cali to do Berkeley versus North Shore. And North Shore actually it was 15-7 at the half. And North Shore had a great first half, and they just sort of again ran out of steam in the second half. But they were doing some things and they just couldn't finish. And then obviously Berkeley is a very dominant team. So work-ons for this going into from last week were communication, and Wendy and I identified some places where I could work on things like clean when the intensity of the game rose, I would maybe try to overmanage and say things kind of in quick succession, which we'll go to a clip later. But how does that affect the teams, and then how does it affect like the tempo of the game? So picking moments to insert yourself and to manage, and then keep momentum. So I think that was also a product of me thinking about keeping momentum and having pressure to keep things going, which led to a little bit of overmanagement where I could see a penalty coming. So that's a balance to strike. But it was a great game. Beautiful weather, lots of great tries. The Berkeley 10 put in some incredible kick passes, which led to some really entertaining tries. Wendy, do you have anything to add?
I thought you had a really good game this week, Jenny. I think you're making some, like we talked about, some leaps and understanding and how you can keep the game going and flowing.
Cool. Okay, this clip, blue 10 is clearly in the way, but green is not ready to play it. However, it is pretty early in the game. So what is the best call here? And that's just a discussion question.
Ready?
that player passing the ball is not a 9, so that's why they are so slow to
Ready?
get there and to figure out what they want to do. And so to me, blue 10 didn't really impact the speed. However, would it be better to just make that statement penalty because they're clearly on the wrong side? Or in the interest of keeping momentum, do you play through this? I'm interested to hear people's thoughts.
Who wants to take it? We've heard from Amelia a couple times. I know Andrew may have trouble because he was dialed in on his phone. Dan, Lindsay, Mike.
I think this tackler rolled the wrong way, but I think she would have been uninterrupting if she rolled away from the ruck rather than into the ruckers. But yeah, I don't know. There's no materiality there. You could do both ways. If you want to set the standard, sure. But if you want to say, hey, there's no one even here to play it, I would be happy with that too.
Yeah, have you had a chance to set the standard in this area yet?
There's only been one penalty at this point in the game, and it's been against North Shore, so not really. So that could be something to think about.
I think also I would offer, do you want to set a standard on something that is practically immaterial? And what does that mean across the course of this match in 80 minutes?
Well, I would counter with clear and obvious. If we want to call the clear and obvious things, this is 100% that.
Clear and obviously she's on the wrong side, but it's immaterial because there's nobody there to play it.
Yeah, but in thinking of an audience member and listening to the audio, that's a builds a credibility if Jenny calls that immediately and
I think
just
it's Hannah
gets it
yelling
out,
at her
right?
own player. It may not be, but it sounds like Hannah yelling at her own player.
It could be. I found that my voice is very indiscernible, and that it sounds like some of the things that the mic is picking up are not me. So it's very difficult to pick my own voice out. I just have a very bland voice, I suppose.
Number 2, this is round 10 is confusing me because it's your name right beside round 11. So round 11, number 2.
Yeah. This is about the effect of if you don't manage something earlier, could it affect later scrums? So the green tight head is square, and then I move away and they shift a little bit to pinch in on the hooker. And because I've moved away, I haven't identified this. So let's take a look at this one, and then we'll look at the next scrum, which happens maybe.
Sorry, so we're focusing on green tight head?
Yep.
Second, corner, seconds. Squeeze, down, come on, all right, down. Crouch. More. Bind, squeeze. 8 in, hold. Set! Hold, hold. Oh, yep.
So I just stopped that because people were on their faces. Even though the ball's away, maybe I could have played through that, but I was just like, oh, okay, that's clearly a collapse. But then I move away so quickly that I wasn't watching what the green tight head was doing after the set call. And so this if I had managed that a little bit earlier at this reset, would that have prevented this next scrum and them spinning around?
Okay, so we want to watch this next one.
Yep. And the audio's off, so just
Yeah, the audio I'm noticing as you're running.
yeah. Also very, very ungraceful, very plotty.
It's not you, it's the mic. All right.
So again, that angle, and it's a mess of a scrum, and North Shore wins this even though they're not necessarily the dominant scrum, and they're having to just kind of spin it around to retain possession.
He doesn't look all that straight right at the beginning.
Yeah, so if I would have been on that side or noticed that they were angling a little bit. It's just about thinking about, oh, if you had managed something earlier, would it solve a problem in a later scrum? So that's just the learning point for me.
Well, and this player did it no matter if they were on offense or defense. So they were just getting dominated, honestly.
Yeah, that's tough. You're going to be fighting that the whole game, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. And then identifying that and then making sure that you can stay on top of it so that things like that don't happen.
Yeah, because we want Blue to be able to drive forward so that they can win the ball.
Right,
Yeah, and
exactly.
Jenny, you've had troubles with that player before in the game, right?
The last week they had some issues with me and what I was telling them because Red was coming, they were just holding the weight through the bind, which they are entitled to do. And they said, well, I'm back on my heels and they're coming into my space. Well, you can come across and meet them. And so we had that discussion before this game and it got a little bit better. So it was a different issue.
Well, I guess what I was getting at is that particular player in this game earlier, right?
Yeah.
What leads you to choose what side of the scrum you are when you engage them?
Yeah, I could have more awareness about the problem children and making sure that I stick with them a little bit more. So that's a good point.
Over the course of the match, did you have to talk to her about the body position, or what was the bigger picture here?
For the most part, those are the two scrums that were a little bit wonky. For the most part, it was square and there weren't any issues, but those two were, it was clear that this led to that. So we thought it was a good thing to discuss.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. And this is about, so what I was saying in the beginning about putting pressure on myself to keep momentum led to a little bit of over management at times. If I felt that there was, I would call off the jackler if I knew that I was about to penalize them because their teammate was about to ruin it for them because they were on the wrong side. And that just led to kind of more staccato communication that was not necessarily clearer for the players, and me just saying a couple of different things like talking to the tackler or talking to the jackler and being more discerning about my communication, because when we're shouting a lot of things that could also impact the players and add to the intensity of an already intense situation. So that's just an awareness piece for me. And the discussion point is to ask the group is how do people practice communicating under pressure specifically?
Parenting helps a lot with that. That was a joke.
No hands. Roll, guys. Over. Get up.
Some of those aren't me. Some of those are other people.
No, she pulled it out.
But you could tell that I was saying like a couple different things, like talking to the tackler role, like no hands. So being more, less diarrhea mouth, I guess. And holding it and being choiceful in how I talk to the players, because that's just probably confusing them.
Yeah, and I think this is really interesting. This is something the MLR referees did in their first year, was they wore heart rate monitors. And then when their heart rate was, 200 beats a minute, that's when their process broke down. They were answering questions that they would never really ever answer to a player, over communicating. So it's thinking about it like that, where we probably should have clipped it a little bit earlier, but North Shore, sorry, it's draft night also for fantasy football, but North Shore had just worked out of their own line So everybody's under pressure, Blue's under pressure, they've got all this momentum. So you can just see Jenny's just feeling it, the players are feeling it, everybody's feeling the pressure. So how do we respond in those situations?
I think that's a really good observation that you made, Wendy, that she's over communicating in under pressure situations. And then Jenny, your question about what are the best ways to train communication under pressure, I'm wondering if the question really is, how do you train not communicating under pressure?
Yeah. And would love to hear how people just practice communication in general.
Hey Jenny, it's Tim. We did this drill with I was actually Paul Brett's originally, where you do like some activity and it's either sprints or we would do some kind of drill where you get tired and then the other people around ask questions or you have situations and you talk through things. And one of the things you can do is you get fatigued, you do like 5 wind sprints and then you get asked a question or you get asked a situation. And you can tell when people are like tired, they're like, oh, but, and you're like, take a second, think about it, communicate, tell us what you would do. And so you can form that around communication, right? You see a player off feet, what are you going to say? You see Blue 12 offsides, what are you saying to Blue 12? Blue 12 stop, Blue 12 back, whatever it is. So that's one way you might be able to train it. It worked pretty well when we were doing it in a group. We were asking law questions. There were 6 of us and you'd ask a law question and a math question. So you have to think and kind of be under pressure when you're a little tired.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great idea.
The old deliberate practice.
Jenny, this is Olivia. I would say like in an everyday situation where you're, not physically stressing yourself and whatever you're doing, interacting with others. I try to practice a lot of literally listening to my word choice, catching if I'm using pause words or interjecting words, because if I'm doing that, it tells me that I'm filling space as opposed to being intentional. And then Amanda's doing it a bit as she is kind of DJing this call, is she's basically saying, wait, I want to hear from somebody else. So I call it sitting on my hands. When you have something you could say, maybe don't say it. Let it play out. So try practicing just in your daily life. Silence, not saying something you think you should. Let it play out a little longer. And then maybe you can offer something that is a little bit better placed.
Thanks, Olivia. That's a great comment.
Thanks. Yeah.
Is that all for you, Jenny?
Yep.
Oh,
Thanks,
awesome.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you also, Wendy. And let's see, where's the last one here, maybe? Oh, I can't grab it. There. Marty.
Yeah, hey everyone. First 15s run out of the fall after a summer full of 7s. So definitely excited to get back on the 15s pitch. It was a great day up in Boston. Other unsung hero, shout out to Peter for being a great tour guide and companion throughout my day up in Boston last week, which was great. Yeah, it was a 49-0, but it didn't feel like the score was that large for most of the match. There were a couple late scores by Beantown again. Some really good attacking opportunities from both sides. Beantown was able to capitalize, the Zons were not. And yeah, I think that's what I got for the preview. I don't know if you have anything else to say, Peter, before we hop into it.
No, sorry, video was late getting up, so I have not finished working my way all the way through it. So I'll reserve comment until we.
Yeah, that's also a learning point. If your 2 halves are in different file types, it will upload, but it will not upload. It'll show as like a 0-minute film. So make sure that there's one MP4 and then .mov. Some issues transferring from my work computer to my personal computer and then back. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, it was an experience. But yeah, so here is 3 scrum clips that I think would be beneficial if we could see them pretty close to consecutively. So there's one in the first 3 minutes that we see here. There's one right after the water break at the 20-ish minute mark, and then there's one in the last 10 minutes of the match. And it just shows some pictures that we want to see throughout an 80 minutes when in the lens of scrum time. So yeah, so Town attacking. Yeah, here we are.
Show the audio and
Thought it was
Yeah,
gonna be
so-
your
so-
audio, Marty, and then it was just all noise.
no.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the audio clips are just on my computer now.
I remember.
Yeah, so we see a pretty strong scrum here from the Zons on their defensive 5 meter here. Just be conscious of the number 8 here is not the hindmost player of the scrum when they pick up the ball. So it's something that we should be conscious of. Just because of being in the 8 position does not mean they have the rights to pick up the ball. So that was a good drive by the Zons here, and that's something that we could take away into this next one. Scrum 2, yep. So this is right after the water break. Cool. So there have been strong scrums here. One free kick in between that, but that's neither here nor there. And we see this strong scrum again from the Zons here, but there was no standing or no collapsing by Town under pressure. So just being conscious of, just because they're moving forward does not mean they get the penalty whistle here. And that was one of the topic of conversations with the coach after the match.
The Amazon's coach wanted a penalty here?
Not at this one exactly, but
Okay.
if we look at the third scrum clip, there is a dominant Town scrum, and under pressure, the Zons stand up. So the Zons coach was looking into, when we're dominant, why don't we get the penalty? Because Beantown was not committing a penalty. Was
Sorry, I accidentally hit play there, so people might have missed the last bit that you said.
Yeah, so it was just because they're being dominant at the scrum does not warrant a penalty, and you cannot penalize for dominance, even though that could help in decision making. Just being dominated is not a penalty worthy sanction. Yeah. So, and then this is in the last 10 minutes of the match, where we see the opposite of that, where the Zons go under pressure and then stand up to stop that. So yeah, we want to.
Yeah, what a big contrast. Good clips. I would use that in a presentation, those two. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, very, very clear differentiation between what was illegal and what was, not.
Right.
And, and I mean, to recognize the Zod's coach had some validity to his complaints, he probably should have gotten a penalty out of that first scrum. Because first 7 unbound early and then 8 picked up from an illegal position.
Clear enough to penalize, you think? Sorry, clear enough to penalize, you think?
They'd been turned so far that there's no way you can say 8 was the hindmost player.
It's close for me.
Yeah, I mean, that was my
You're
my
technically
sense was that
correct. Yeah.
Zons had earned something there.
Okay.
Hey, it's Tim. Just like looking at these and looking at the score line and everything, that second one, you might be able to give the Zons a chance, right? Like they had a strong scrum and you're maybe manufacturing a little of a penalty, but at least you're rewarding them in a game that at that point, I felt like they're kind of getting, beaten up a little bit. So that's, outside the laws, but just kind of the game flow. So just some thoughts.
Did you mean the scrum? This one?
The one that was really close is
Oh.
really the clean, clear scrum. Yeah, that one.
Okay. What would you penalize for though?
I don't know, something.
Beantown doesn't do anything wrong.
Right, yeah, they take the hit pretty well. And
I
and there
understand
were
where you're trying to get, but I don't think I agree. So
Okay, now what, foul play? Well, doesn't matter. We got enough
yeah,
time.
I think we have time to check them both. So this is
not rolling.
yeah, so this one is pretty similar to some of the other clips that we talked about on this call. Where there is I guess we could see the clip and see how it unfolds. Yeah. So we do see Town 9 ready there, trying to play quick, backline setup, looking to go wide. The tackler does affect 9 speed at that breakdown. But the ball does come out. So I'm open to chat.
Just to be devil's advocate, the player runs away from their support. Like there's no support right here. Beantown support is so far away. The first one there's 10. Great. And yeah, that player's in the way, but like she clearly ran away from her support. If the players were right there, it's a much easier call for me.
Yeah, I like that point.
But I do see. I mean, it's clear, obvious right there. That player's in the way, interfering with it. But I don't like that she ran so far away from her support.
Rephrase that. You don't like that her support didn't keep up with her.
Yeah.
You don't
Correct.
want
You had a great run.
Does anybody feel strongly about this being a penalty? Or do we feel we can probably play through it?
Play through for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, my take was that the Zons got realigned pretty quickly. And so that which cuts down on the materiality.
Foul play?
Yeah, and then yeah, we can hop into foul play. I was just gonna say we have the topic of conversation the last couple of weeks too is letting that breathe and getting out of that sevens paying. So yeah, cool. So this is a foul play question. Let's roll the tape.
Everybody see that tackle? Happens in that. Real time. Okay, we can waterfall on the count of 3. Do we want to play on or PK? If you'd like a YC, you can go with that. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it looks like everybody's happy with a penalty kick for that sling tackle. which we discussed earlier in the season. And it sounds like the match commissioner and sighting commissioner both agreed they're dangerous and we don't want them in the game. So we're all on the same page. That's amazing. Law quiz.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
On this one, stop for 1 sec, Amanda.
Yep.
If you can try and stop this before Marty gives his decision, and let's see what people think.
I think I did cut it in the
Oh,
clip
did you?
too.
Great.
Different than the one that we looked at in our review. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So in at our desks now, we could take the time and go through who brought it in, who made it dead. Let's and that's a very good question there, Dan. In the moment the Zons brought it in goal and then made dead by the charge down, yeah. So it did not leave in goal.
Is it made dead by the charge down? I think it goes off of orange. Does it bounce from the red player from the charge down into the orange player?
But does that matter?
Yeah, because then orange would be making it dead, not red.
Doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
If
It was
it's
brought in
voting,
by the Zons. It's their job to get it out no matter what. So
But
I
the
think
ball,
so.
but if the ball went, it depends whether where the charge down was, doesn't it? The charge down was in goal versus if the charge down was in the field of play. Because if the charge down was in the field of play, then the ball goes off the red player into the orange player and then goes dead. So orange is making it dead.
Wait a minute. The first question is, where did the charge down happen?
Right.
Live, I was absolutely 100% convinced it happened in goal.
Me too.
Video is a little less conclusive. Marty says it happened in goal.
Oh, did you have a clear view of it, Marty?
Yeah, I'm pretty close to the goal line. I'm
Yeah, Marty's like
Yeah.
6 meters away from it, 1 meter off the goal line.
So fun.
So, given that it happened, the charge down happened in goal, what's the decision? Other than Dan's comment, I'm not hearing anybody.
So put in by the defense and made dead 5 meter scrum to red.
There we go. And if it had happened, the charge down had happened in the field of play,
The charge down had happened in the field of play, then we get a to 22 meter drop.
or a goal line drop, depending on whether or not that ball actually bounced off the orange player.
Yeah. Good times.
Yes.
The only reason I know the answer to this is because I got it dead wrong when I was a brand new referee and everybody in the entire place was screaming at me. And I didn't even know what had happened. It's terrible. I'm
Is
still
there any-
traumatized.
on the day, I gave a 22 there too. So happy to
you-
put my hand up, say that I was wrong. Yeah.
Well, you could have been right. We can't really tell
Right.
if it was in goal or the field of play from this video. Really, you can't tell. I looked.
But yeah, I mean, with my thought process there, if we
Yeah.
say that it was in goal, then I'm wrong.
Unfortunately, in goal law is very, very difficult. So we all need to review it and review it often, I think.
For a kick from
Thanks
the
all.
field of play that goes past the
Oh,
ball.
sorry, we're not gonna be able to hear you. Speak again, Dan.
One follow. Peter answered it. Never mind.
Okay. All right, are we wrapped up here then?
We are, you
Yeah,
have
that's what
3
I had.
minutes to summarize.
3 minutes to zoom through. You guys, I think you purposely don't give me enough time. I think it's a conspiracy.
We're trying to teach you not to be quite so precise on the timing.
Okay.
We had to
All
wait,
right.
3 minutes for a couple of late entries, late joiners.
Maybe so I just have to start. I have to starting right at 9 o'clock so that we don't go over. So from my point of view, trend wise across the games, we were patient, right? The breakdown is the number of penalties at the breakdown is lower, and that makes the games feel like they have more flow. I would like to remind us that we can use an unplayable, right? When you get one and there's nothing clear, but the ball is hung up, go ahead and give an unplayable. But also sometimes when we feel uncomfortable and there's not a clear penalty kick, let's just play through it. Marty had one in his game where I thought it was a good one to just play through. It's a little funky. He ends up penalizing. Could play through it. Room for improvement. For me, there were several intentional knock-ons this week. So I just want to make sure we're not being too lenient with these because that's easier for us. And then also, I think as a group, we can work on not speaking when we don't need to speak. So like we did look at what Jenny, when Jenny was over communicating at those breakdowns, I would just like everyone to think about when you say something at a breakdown, it means at some point you're going to have to blow the whistle. If you're quiet and you observe to see what happens, you may not have to blow the whistle. So my 2 cents. If you have not registered in Rugby X, please make sure you do it because you are out of compliance as of this weekend. I did ask for the membership to pull all of our refs so we can make sure. I'm sure that you all did it, but anyway, I just have to say it. Finish booking travel for the season. We have 2 more hotel rooms that we need to book, I believe, and we'll take care of that today. Next week is a break week. We have no call, so enjoy your evening. Here's what round 12 will look like. Dan has the Zons. Mike Lawrenson will have Colorado in this humongously important match for the league. And Amelia is going to do New York North Shore. Good luck to everybody. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Let me see where my video is so you can see me again. Hi. All right. Awesome. Everybody enjoy their time off. Good call. Great clips this week. I thought that was so much fun. So I love it. Good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a safe
Great
weekend.
things.